The sisters never got to meet the Beatles, but they did manage an encounter with the North American tour manager.
When we were talking to him, he took down each one of our names and our addresses and said he would send us something that, you know, from the Beatles.
Because we just wanted a piece of paper, because back then it was really big to have something that they had touched. And then sure enough, he followed through with his word. And
a few months later, in the mail.
And we each got a pen and
Monopoly piece.
Right, Monopoly piece.
Because they played those games and then they just left them, so he gathered that stuff up and divvied it out to the fans. How lucky was that?
Time came for the show itself.
But at the Coliseum, we were ill prepared for all the people outside the Coliseum. In those days, we did things that you probably couldn't get by with today. Like, we didn't have porta potties out there. And the kids who were waiting for hours and hours and overnight and so forth to get in, because there was no reserved seating. It was, as soon as you get in, you find a seat and that's your seat. So it was open seating at $5 a head. This was one of the back-to-school concerts, and it was a Beatles tour package. There was the Beatles, Brenda Holloway, Cannibal and the Headhunters, and King Curtis with a discotheque dancer band. That was the show. And it was a show put together by Epstein. We had nothing to do with how the show was packaged. It was the same package tour that went all over the country.
But the Beatles, of course, were the event.
Every time one of them would look down at us, because they were looking at the press, obviously, they weren't looking at us. Of course, we would go bananas and, you know, freak out like they were, you know, singing specifically to us.
They were. They waved at us, and I know they were singing to me. I don't know about you.
Not that they could hear much.
Well, you couldn't hear anything. I mean, the screams were deafening, and that's all you heard. The Beatles were singing, and we know they did 8 or 9 songs, but nobody heard it. I mean, it was just scream, scream, scream.
And I remember screaming and throwing my head back, and I hit a metal pole. You know, it was like the seat behind, you know, the railing behind us, and I
just knocked yourself out.
Yeah, I won't forget that.
It was deafening, and we were carrying girls who had fainted out the back of the Coliseum. I mean, they were just totally gone. So it was chaotic. It was unbelievably chaotic. I don't think I've ever seen that at any show ever, anywhere, you know. And I've emceed a lot of programs, a lot of shows over the years.
KILT had one more post-concert promotion in mind.
They slept at the Sheraton, and we took the sheets from the bed, and we cut them in strips, and we sold them for $5, same price as a ticket, a strip. And the money went to a charity here in Houston. I think it was a Civitan Teen Canteen, and we got the money.
Decades later, it's still a treasured memory.
But one of the things that I think about in retrospect was how much I appreciated the fact that our mother and father let us go. The Beatles were fresh and new, and a lot of people were scared about what was happening, this mass hysteria with the young women, the young girls, and what was, you know.
Right.
And so to have that my whole life, to think I saw the Beatles, I just thank my mother. Thank you. Thank you for that experience.
Pretty phenomenal.
Up next, the Houston Ballet.